hold your tongue. She was just a girl with questions in her eyes, lost in the echoes of a world full of lies. They tried to erase her, to silence her name, but the truth doesn't fade, it still burns like a flame. Can't you hear her crying in the night? Can't you see she's searching for the light? We can't turn away, we can't let this be. If we forget her, then who are we? If we forget her, humanity's lost. A soul left behind is too great a cost. She's more than a whisper, more than a fight. She is the reason we stand for what's right. Locked in the shadows, she's calling our names, begging for justice, for breaking these chains. They rewrite the stories, they cover the truth, but we stand together, we won't let them choose. Can't you hear her crying in the night? Can't you see she's searching for the light? We can't turn away, we can't let this be. If we forget her, then who are we? Can't you hear her crying in the night? Can't you see she's searching for the light? We can't turn away, we can't let this be. If we forget her, then who are we? If we forget her, humanity's lost. A soul left behind is too great a cost. She's more than a whisper, more than a fight. She is the reason we stand for what's right. No more silence, no more pain. We won't let them hide her name. Raise your voice, take a stand, hold her story in your hands. If we forget her, humanity's lost. A soul left behind is too great a cost. She's more than a whisper, more than a fight. She is the reason we stand for what's right. If we forget her, humanity is lost. A soul left behind is too great a cost. She's more than a whisper, more than a fight. She is the reason we stand for what's right. Right. If we forget her, then who are we?
With Julia, part 4. Joining us for the first ever time on the channel is ex-cop Gary Waterman. And oh my goodness, we've come back fast to do this part 4 because of Gary's revelations. Julia's story is about to take a very unanticipated turn, and I'm going to let Gary get into the nitty-gritty of that. Now, I am fascinated by people who don't know who they are. This is a massive, a colossal question in philosophy and religion. Who are we? Does anyone truly know who they are? So before you judge Julia, think about this. Are you your name? Am I Sean Atwood? I could change my name tomorrow and I would no longer be Sean Atwood, so I'm not my name. Am I Sean Atwood, partner of Jen, father of Ziggy? Maybe I've never met Jen, I've never had Ziggy, so I'm not my family. If you strip away your family, your work, and put yourself in a room, a cave like a monk, a prison cell like a prisoner, and when you're left just with your own thoughts and everything else is stripped away, and you start to think and ask yourself, who am I? Your mind goes blank. In religion, for example, in the Hindu religion and many of the other religions, the conclusion is that we are a soul. But even then, the complexities are immense. So Julia is a person who's trying to find out who she is, as the rest of us are. And that really resonates with me because when I was incarcerated and I was sat there for hours on end meditating, I was contemplating who I was. So I'm fascinated by people who are going down that path like Julia. Have you got anything to add to this, Ron?
Well, it just all seemed a bit out there, because Julia is one of the most prepared and well-spoken individuals who've come on the channel to plead any case. And we've all said from the start of this that we're interested in Julia's story and following her. And I mean, Julia was the one who contacted me and said, "Hey, listen, can we do another part?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!" I mean, I can throw this back at people and be like, we're giving people a platform to have a voice, and we've got a great community here, and it reflects when Julia tells stories of her experiences on other platforms. And if someone feels safe who's been through what Julia's been through, support and giving her a voice is something that I'm more than happy to do. And yeah, like you say, the chart speaks for itself. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, trust me, you should be calling us out for like mad prison stories and craziness. Do you know what I'm saying? Not Julia. Do you know what I'm saying? Because it's a fascinating story, and it ties in with the biggest case in the world. And that is two big piles of fishiness. Want to get to the bottom of the fishiness, and that's it. Okay, so Julia, are we right or are we wrong in saying that? First of all, you still there, Julia? You with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I was listening here.
Do you have anything to add to that, Julia?
No, I think you said everything.
Yeah, I think
I can only say that I agree with all you said.
Yeah.
Thank you. And just to reiterate then, so, obviously there are trolls saying bad things about Julia, and I'm not here to address them. I wouldn't give them the time of day. I know there are genuinely concerned people who think Julia's been through some things, and that we on this channel have brought her in and are exploiting her for views. And hopefully what we've just said and what we've just shown you lays that to rest.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to bring in Gary first to just introduce himself.
Absolutely. I just want to pre-warn everyone as well. Gary is currently got a connection that is very low, so he may introduce himself and turn his camera off. There is no conspiracy behind this. There is just a connection coming off a roast potato, basically. So Gary, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate it. So if I give a little bit background about myself, I was a former police officer in Kent Police and Dorset Police. I was in for 18 years. And when I transferred from Kent Police to Dorset in 2006, I purchased a flat within a block of flats. In 2022, I acquired, whilst being a director for that company, I inquired to see the authentic bank documents for our company. The acting chairman, when I requested that, resigned. I became the acting chairman and tried to identify why that was and what had happened. I approached our management company. They also resigned and refused to even discuss anything to do with the accounts within our company. Two other directors resigned. I then acquired, through our company, forged bank documents and established that they had been produced by somebody on the Treasury Department within Lloyds Bank. I obviously reported this to the relevant organisations, including my previous police force, Dorset, and found out that they had leaked information that only they knew about my reports to a prime suspect who I'd already named, and who turns out to be linked to the Fleming family, who are linked to Ian Fleming, the person who wrote James Bond books, and therefore the intelligence agencies MI6. They were also linked to JP Morgan, setting up an international...
Gary, sorry to interrupt you. Can I get you to just turn your camera off just now?
Yeah, cool.
Just so for everyone out there who's like, oh, the cop's hiding his face, who's come in 20 minutes into the stream, there we are. The man is not afraid of hiding his face. I'm just doing this so that, 500 people don't get a migraine. So, Gary, carry on with what you were saying, brother.
Yeah, please stop me if it's a bit of a long story. I'll try and keep it concise.
Yeah.
So
keep it long, Gary. Keep it long. We prefer long on this channel.
So those people were, one of them was a former NHS chief executive in charge of a £700 million budget and 10,000 staff. The other person, who was the husband from the Fleming family, was a former Dorset police officer as well. I then acquired 2 emails from my former police force confirming that they were allowing those forged bank documents to be produced by the banks and used in circulation. Everything I'm telling you is supported through thousands of documents, a nearly 100,000 word statement, and pretty much everything is verifiable and corroborative. I escalated my concerns to the Independent Office for Police Conduct and the Serious Fraud Office, as well as the Home Secretaries and the people within government who oversee the police forces around the UK. This eventually led, because they refused to intervene with all of this information, I knew this was bigger. So I made various inquiries into the company registration system and identified that governments around the world have been involved in international government fraud linked to child trafficking. A huge claim to make, but I've got the evidence to support it. And what they have been doing is forging company registration systems to create illegal entity companies that should never have been able to trade, but they continue to trade. Due to the forgery in the first place, they shouldn't have been. Our governments control the company registration systems. They have been involved in the forgery, which is the forgery of the registration, and also the forgery of incorporation documents, all a crime, okay, a crime under the 2006 Fraud Act. This is why we have got most of the world's problems at the moment, because
Gary,
what is happening is these illegal entity companies.
okay.
Sorry, did you have a question?
Just up until that point, right? Can you just say exactly what happened again, but just break it down into bullet points, right? Imagine you're telling an 8-year-old exactly what you've just explained, because I think that is a massive statement to be making about your findings. And I just don't want there to be any doubt in people's minds what was just said there. So could you break it down into little bullet points for us? And just because I'm pretty sure I heard what you said, but I just want to make sure. So could you do that for us, Gary? I'm sorry to put you through that.
No problem at all. No problem at all. So in 2007, I was asked to be a director for a freehold company in relation to a block of flats where I had purchased a flat. Okay. I presumed it was legal and legitimate. I had no reason to believe not to. We had a roofing project in 2001 on that block of flats, 2021, which involved a lot of money exchanging hands. And I approached our acting chairman to request, as a director, to see our company bank accounts. The acting chairman refused and resigned. I then became the acting chairman to try and establish what had happened and what was going on.
Wow.
This led to a meeting with our management company, who had been controlling the accounts and the management of that building. They refused to discuss anything with me and resigned there and then on the spot.
So effectively, you fumbled in to one of the most massive finds of probably your career in life. I mean, you were part of a block of flats, and if you hadn't become that chairman, you would never have found out about this, right?
Absolutely.
That's
absolutely
mad. That is mad. Please continue.
Yeah. So obviously I knew something was wrong, but I didn't realize what it was going to lead to. So the management company resigned, which obviously heightened my suspicions and refused to discuss anything. 2 other directors within the company resigned. I have, at some point around that time, acquired 2 sets of bank accounts via the management company for our freehold company.
Yeah.
One of them appeared to be authentic, so those bank statements were aligned, consistent, uniform, like a normal bank statement that we all receive for our bank accounts. Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you.
From those sets of accounts, I worked out that there was around, over £167,000 missing from others in my company being paid into the building. Okay.
Yeah,
So of course I had paid at every opportunity whenever I was requested, because I was gaining the advantage of being a director and a shareholder in the company. So that meant I had been defrauded, because if others hadn't been paying, when I was led to believe we were all paying, then that's a crime, that's a fraud. The second set of accounts were clearly forged. So they were misaligned. They were not consistent. They were not uniformed. The amounts were in date columns. Dates were in amount columns.
So guys,
It's a document that it's a document that is not consistent with a normal bank statement that is produced by the software and printed off by the software of that bank. So far?
Yeah, oh, I'm with you. It's insane because any other person in the world other than a police officer wouldn't be pulling it or picking away at these labels. It's fascinating, Gary. Carry on.
This was divine, my friend. This was divine.
Yeah.
There's certainly a bigger power here, working behind me. I can tell you that.
Right, I'm with you.
So I identified the forged bank documents. I reported this to the relevant organisation. I found out they were leaking information to 2 people within my organisation who I'd already named as a prime suspect. And I'd named them as a prime suspect because it was their friend who was the accountant that was filing these forged bank documents. And I'd already had, pages and pages of correspondence on emails which have been retained and secured now, confirming they were using those forged bank documents to file our accounts. Okay. Now, as I've said, these 2 individuals whose friend was the accountant, one of them was a former NHS chief executive officer in charge of a £700 million budget. They were the chief executive officer for the NHS for the Hampshire, Isle of Wight and Dorset area. That's very important to mention those locations, and you'll see why later.
Okay.
The husband was a former Dorset police officer, like I was. Inquiries through Companies House registration systems later confirmed that they were linked to the Fleming family, who is linked to Ian Fleming. Ian Fleming wrote the James Bond books, and Ian Fleming was a former MI6 agent, including, according to the research. The same companies, when I researched Companies House, linked to the creation of JP Morgan banks. Okay. And as you may or may not be aware, Alexandra Fleming was also involved in the creation of the penicillin. So there's a connection through to the pharmaceutical industry as well.
So how do we go from you having a flat, you finding out about these false documents, these heads of the NHS? Where does this tie in with the transportation of human beings? Tell us how you made that connection.
Yeah, sure. So I worked out that the heads of government organisations were involved in this. Okay, so Michael Lockwood was the head of the Independent Office for Police Conduct. He had been arrested for 7 sexual offences, and he was linked through Companies House to the illegal entity creation, and in fact the same companies that I'd already been researching. Lisa Osofsky, who was the head of the Serious Fraud Office, was also linked to the international government fraud through the false registration system. As this escalated and I realised how big it was, I tried going to mainstream media and they all ignored the evidence. I then found out that most mainstream media was connected to the same illegal entities and the fraudulent creation through the company registration system. This includes BBC, Channel 4, ITV, Sky News, pretty much every mainstream outlet that you can think of. So I then started researching certain individuals through Companies House. So this included Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, Robert Maxwell, and found very quickly that there was an overlap of companies extremely quickly, already linking in with the evidence I had. And it was all going back to my company or individuals within my company. Wow. Now, you need to remember in all of this, that there's over 5 million registered companies. All of my research over the last 2 years has focused on around maybe 4,500 companies.
This is wild.
It gets a lot wilder. So I then looked at specific child abuse cases, and I was started to be contacted by families around the country whose children they were concerned were being abused whilst in the care services. The very first family that that contacted me, I looked at the evidence that they had first of all, which obviously concerned me. And I then said, okay, give me the names of all of the individuals involved in all of the different organisations around this child that you're concerned is being abused whilst in the care service, and found that pretty much every single one of them, so the social workers, the judges, the solicitors, the doctor that examined the child, all linked back in through Companies House into the international child trafficking system that I'd already identified, the same companies. Illegal entity companies.
Would you say that a statement like it's almost like you've undercovered a global club would be an appropriate way of putting a title around this, Gary? Because we've often talked about the global club that partakes in moving children from one place to the other. And I mean, you're coming. I mean, and again, forgive me, but you're not. I mean, you're coming, you've got documentation. You're not just here to tell a story, right? I mean, I'm not saying you've got everything prepared right now, but effectively you're backing up your statements with the admin, right?
100%. You can verify and corroborate everything that I've done. I've created documents which is showing the raw data, so the evidential links through the company registration systems, using the government's own registration system itself and the attached documents. So everything I say is supported, verifiable and corroborative by anyone.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's not terrifying in the slightest. So, Sean.
Yeah, this is absolute dynamite, Gary. Keep going, please.
So I then looked. In fact, a lot of people have helped me along the way. Okay, so people have suggested, Gary, you need to look at this, you need to look at that, etc. One of the next things that confirmed the link to the child trafficking was, you may have heard of it on the Isle of Jersey, a news article where I think it was around 65 children's body parts were found in the basement of a building on the Isle of Jersey. And I researched that article and found that at least 2 of the lead investigating officers in the police linked back into the international government fraud and the child trafficking that I'd already identified. So did the politicians in relation to that article. It then linked to the case of Madeleine McCann, to Keir Starmer, to Nicola Bulley, all of the same stuff, back to my company as well, very, very quickly. Okay, bearing in mind, we've already said over 5 million registered companies. Later on, I then
5 million registered companies in the club.
Pardon?
5 million registered companies that are in this global club network trafficking. 5 million.
No. So on the Companies House registration system, according to their own website, there's over 5 million registered companies all in all.
Okay.
And I've looked at around 4,500 of them, which is obviously a drop in the ocean, really. So where do we go with this? So then I researched the Hampstead child abuse inquiry, and I'm sure you know what it is, but just for your viewers, a quick recap. It was an interview with 2 children, very harrowing, where they were making claims of not only being sexually abused by multiple individuals within a school and a church, but also being made to take part in the murder of babies and the drinking of blood.
Gary, that's about as much as we can talk about that specific case on this channel.
Sure.
So you move on to the next point. Now, the reason for that, I'll explain to you off air, but we all know that case. We all know the horrors of that. But sadly, due to reasons that I'll explain, we cannot talk about that. It's not a YouTube thing. It's when you get too close to the fire bites back. So we can't talk about that one. But
okay,
we all know it. So trust me.
No problem.
Move on to the next one, brother, if you can.
No problem. Quite a big part for you, I suppose, is to confirm the research in relation to Rishi Sunak that identified whoever had created his record had used a false date of birth, a crime. Okay, I confirmed that through research on Wikipedia and Companies House. They were different date of births. but we know it's the right person because that linked to the Association of Conservative Clubs. On going into the Association of Conservative Clubs company, it linked through to Russia, the monarchy, the intelligence agencies, forgery all the way through, illegal entity companies all the way through. Concerns that I have for directed energy systems, which is another big topic, but we can, I mean, we'll focus more on Julia.
That's a whole other evening, if I'm being honest with you. That's a whole other evening, man. You're getting this in sections, and if I could follow along with it, the side chat can definitely follow along with it. So keep going.
Yep. So I'd already made connections because somebody, a great man, I believe, I never met him. He said, Gary, you need to have a look at the Madeleine McCann case. So I started researching around Companies House, the Madeleine McCann case, and found the same companies, illegal entity companies, etc. It linked to Keir Starmer, again, very quickly via his company, the Death Penalty Limited, and a company called Bates, Wells and Braithwaite's. So I already had the evidence around, significantly around the case of Madeleine McCann, and found connections to Nicola Bulley, which we can talk about that again. That's another subject. So then we move on to, if you want to step forward a bit, then on last Saturday, Julia contacted me, and I'd already been sent a video about Julia, and it was a phone call that she had received from Operation Grange, where the officer on the end of the phone was basically saying they're not going to conduct a DNA test, and they pretty much threatened her with harassment if she was to phone the police anymore. So I found that highly unusual. The investigation with Madeleine McCann is probably the most expensive investigation in the UK, certainly for missing person. As we know, it's the most publicised missing person probably on the planet. Research, I think, says that around 12 to 15 million pounds has already been put through into that investigation. Yep. And of course, this system of fraud, what it means, guys, is the general public will be being defrauded through the taxation system. Yep. So what they will be doing is members of parliament will be contracting out contracts through these illegal entity companies for taxpayers' contributions to pay for things. One example, which I've got the evidence of, is the Michelle Mone PPE scandal, where she acquired a yacht and some property. They're illegal entity companies all around it. So the banks would have no doubt have created forged bank documents like they did for my company to falsify those companies' figures and send the real money into offshore accounts, which means we're all being defrauded through the taxation system.
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, yeah, for sure.
So it's worth trillions of pounds. I'm not even exaggerating, over the last few decades. And anyway, Julia then sent me significant information, so all of the photographs showing marks all over her body that seemed to match Madeleine McCann's. She showed me comparison photographs between Madeleine's father and herself, which I found rather uncanny. She described the process of how she had started to recollect things that were very specific and related very closely to the case of Madeleine McCann.
Yes, you can go to town with SRA. Okay, that's the way we're going to frame it, bro.
Brilliant. So just quickly, before we look at this document, because I think it's important that you know this as well, I'd been sent a letter in relation to what we've just talked about. It appeared to have been a German letter relating to the fluid taken from wee ones. And on that document was a... Pardon?
No, carry on.
And on that document was a company name called CYM. CYM then linked to my company very quickly. I then held a live stream, on my Telegram channel, and somebody came on to that live stream under a false name, their real name or another name that somebody assisted me in identifying them, then also linked back to military, the vaccines, and also CYM, exactly the same company that was on the document that I'd previously acquired relating to the fluid taken from the wee ones. And that individual confirmed they were in collusion also with my company, with people in my company.
Yeah, that's freaking. I mean, that's what. Is this the right document that I've got on screen here?
Yeah. So I'll talk you through it. I don't know how long you've got. Do you want me to skip to the main points, or do you want to go through the whole lot?
Well, what?
No, take your time. Go through the whole lot.
Yeah, there you go.
Brilliant. Okay. So this is just to show continuity of information and correspondence between myself and Julia. So this is the first email she sent me. I've just redacted her email for obvious reasons. And as you scroll down, you'll see my response. I don't think you necessarily need to read this, but this document is available to everybody. It's in my public document file link if anyone wants to go and look at it. And as you'll scroll down, you'll see some photographs that Julia attached to the email as well. Just showing the comparisons and.
Yep.
And that's just a screenshot. One screenshot.
Because
Yeah,
it's important on the blue background. Can you make it bigger?
Yeah, I think you sent me that individually. Hang on a second.
Okay. So maybe you can show it later.
Yeah. Hang on a minute. Let's go through it, and then because this is a detailed introduction. We're because when we get on to what we're going to talk about, Julia, this is solidifying this guy's, credentials effectively with just his preparedness. So thank you for being patient. I really do appreciate it, Julia. So I'm going to bring this up on the screen though, because there's this one and there's this one, Julia, right? And this is. You want to explain what this is before we carry on, Julia?
DNA done under the fake name, and the other one is DNA done under the real name.
Okay. So hang on a second. Let me grab that.
This is fake name under the fake name. You can see Great Britain Irish there as well. And on the other file, under the real name.
Okay, under the real name. Okay. 100%.
It's still not 100% Polish, but under the real name is kind of different.
Oh, yeah. So this is you showcasing the DNA that was done previously, right? And this is now real DNA results, right?
Yes.
Okay, wicked. So we will circle back to that because I know that is important. And I just want to let Gary get through this PDF. But it's also as well, Julia, this is your show. Okay, you let us know what you need and what you want. Okay, you don't have to listen to me. If you want to show something, you let us know. All right, and Gary, you continue with this.
So if you scroll down, this is where things get very, very interesting indeed. So this is, again, just to show continuity of correspondence between Julia and I, where it moved on to WhatsApp. And I asked various questions, including companies, details of the family that Julia lived with in Poland. There was quite a lot of information supplied that I haven't shown here because it hasn't proved to be relevant. But we did then reach this company. And you can see on the right there, this is a company that Julia's mum in Poland, or who she was led to believe was her mum, has an interest in, okay? And it's a baby or a children's clothing company. And as you scroll down, you'll see where Julia tells me that it is linked to a company called Crocodrillo, sorry. So this is just showing the communication between Julia and I, confirming the spelling. A couple of screenshots that I've sent her showing initial quick research through the company registration system. So we have Crocodrillo. So let's have a look at where that leads us. As you scroll down. Now, this is where things are very important. All of this is verifiable and corroborative by anyone through the company registration system, okay? On the left here, it's a Google search just confirming that Crocodrillo Limited is a children's clothes company. On the right there is an actual search within the company registration system confirming there's two matches, okay, now, or two things come up when you search Crocodrillo. First of all, it's very unusual for there to only be two searches when you search for a company or part of a company name. So that was the first thing that was very unusual, but I suppose it's quite an unusual company name. So we're going to look at that first one that I've highlighted on the right in the red box, and we're going to go into that record and see how important it becomes. So these are just screenshots taken from the company registration system. So on the left, we're now looking within the overview section of the company. On the right, we've gone into the filing history and we're actually looking at the incorporation document of that company. and it's normally the first document or the oldest document on a company's filing history. And as you scroll down, you'll see a little red box outlining a particularly important company. So if you yeah, we can, yeah, don't worry, you can look at
I've broken it. Hang on a second.
That's all right.
And we're not there yet, are we? Where are we? We're here. There we go. Apologies, everybody.
That's okay. So it should be further up. That's it. That's it. Down a bit. That's it. Here we go. So this is the incorporation document for Crocodrillo, and that company on the right is very important because that links massively to my previous research. And that actually links to the World Trade Center disaster very significantly, and also to a connection linking our government to an affiliation to the paedophile information exchange. So I can explain a little bit more about that, or would you rather me keep going?
Yeah, no, explain more about that, but we need to use the term PDF file. Welcome to the algorithm. No, you're good. You're doing well.
Sorry.
We have to, no, you're fine. It's learning to speak algorithm, so don't worry.
Sure. So when you research companies made simple, it links to a company called Westco Nominees Limited. When you look at Westco Nominees Limited, the government have removed the company name from the incorporation document altogether. Well, that's fraud for starters. Okay, because this is a legal document normally. If it's done legal and lawfully, it will be a legal document, which means it has legal ramifications or consequences if it is not done lawfully and correctly. Okay, now it's very important because Larry Silverstein was the person to purchase the World Trade Center building in July 2001. It was the only time that building had changed hands in the 31 years history of its life. He, by chance, was not in the World Trade Center at the time of its collapse, even though, according to research, you would normally have breakfast there every day. A company called Silverstein Real Estates, because Larry Silverstein is heavily into real estate, Silverstein Real Estates also links to Westco Nominees Limited, where they've removed the company name altogether. Harriet Harman is a member of Parliament. She is still a member of Parliament, I believe. She was part of the National Council for Civil Liberties. That organisation, under the Liberty banner, was affiliated to the paedophile information exchange. There was a big to-do about this, and Harriet Harman did an interview, I think it was in 2018, I can't remember the exact date, and pretty much confirmed there was an affiliation to the paedophile information.
Gary, let's just call it pi.
PDF.
Let's just call it pi.
Sorry.
Yeah, pi, mate. Yeah,
Pi's fine. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I keep forgetting.
No, you're all good, mate. It's it gives all this a better chance of reaching a larger audience when the YouTube AI comes to play the whole video in 8 seconds and cast judgment like it's freaking swinging the hammer of Thor.
Sure. So the Liberty companies also linked to companies made simple and Westco Nominees. After the disaster, the World Trade Center disaster, Larry Silverstein received a US government grant under a Liberty Fund grant. Liberty. That was the banner being used by the Liberty companies, headed by the National Council for Civil Liberties. During one of my emails, I'm going off a little bit here, so we'll come back to this document. Just one more thing.
Sure.
During the emails I've been sending to 650 members of Parliament over the last 2 years, on one of those emails, I received one response from 650 members of Parliament. Can you guess who it was?
No.
Harriet Harman. Harriet Harman. So as we move through this document, let's see where this leads. So we've got Crocodrillo linking to a company already very significant. Now on the left there, we're within the People tab. and you can see Christopher Jones. When you click on Christopher Jones, you link to a company called 52 Richmond Hill Limited on the right. As we look at that company, as you scroll down, so we're just looking at the overview now. We've gone into that company, and if you scroll down to the next red box, hopefully it'll be red for you. Okay, so we're within 52 Richmond Hill. Now remember, there are over 5 million registered companies. That company, Property Management Solutions, is the management company that we ended up employing after the first one resigned when I wanted to view the bank documents.
Okay.
Okay, and
Yeah,
you can
I'm
see when this person resigned in 2024, just on the bottom right there. So they were appointed in 2009.
Yeah.
As I'm publicising everything, I'm seeing this all the way through. They're resigning. I'm publicising this publicly. So you can see they're resigned on the 22nd of February 2024.
Massively suspicious. Just everyone, I know this is a lot. Hold it together in the side chat, but I need you to do me a favor right now. I need you sharing this. There ain't no way in hell the establishment is going to do us any favors with letting this be heard. So if we can like and share and share and share again, because this is mad. All right, this is mad. Now, one thing, Gary, it's a lot of information to unload on everyone all at once. Okay, I feel like just so you know. So keep going with this. Are we on the right page?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay.
So this is just to confirm that it links to my company. So you know I'm not making this up. We've gone into Property Management Solutions. On the right, you can see an address there, Suite 8, Old Pottery. As you scroll down, you'll see that a couple more times.
Yep. Yeah, we go. Old Pottery.
Now on the right, this is the leasehold company, sorry, the freehold company that I was part of, and I'm still part of. I'm still a shareholder, but it's an illegal company. And look at the address. So first of all, to confirm, the address is exactly the same.
I see that, yes.
As you scroll down, you'll see my name, just to confirm that I am still linked to that company.
Yep, right there.
So that's me.
Yep,
now, I didn't resign I didn't actually resign. I was kicked out of the company by others within my company because I was refusing to use the forged bank documents that we had acquired. These images that you're seeing now, you can see I have, I told you I've had thousands of documents. You can see this is document 2,233 to 2,241 exhibited in my statement. And this is the management agreement. It's a signed management agreement. I haven't showed all of the pages, just to confirm that that company is tied to my company, or the company I was part of, within a document as well.
Yeah, this is well and truly well laid out. Keep going, Gary.
This isn't probably going to be quite as interesting to you, but this is just showing the evidential connections through to McCann companies. McCann companies. We'll come to that in a second. So just to show the continuity, at the left-hand side, you can see at the top, we're within that Richmond Hill company that we were already looking at, because it says 52 Richmond at the top. We're looking in the people record, and here's David Dowdall's links to D&D Associates. As you scroll down, you will see some previous saved documents that I already have. If you scroll down a little bit more, please. So that's it. So first of all, on the left there, A1, if anyone was to search Finchley Road fraud, you could look at a Ham and High article from 2019. That article mentions A1 company services as being linked to international government fraud, dictatorships around the world, mafia, corrupt politicians, and defrauding the general public through the taxation system. So we now have a link to that already highlighted company. On the right, or no, whichever one you want to look at there, it shows corroborative evidence for my previous research linking through to Nicola Bulley, the Nicola Bulley document that I've done, which links to BAE Systems, the UK's largest defence contractor that is supplying weapons to Israel for the obviously the Gaza conflict, but also to Ukraine. It's massively linked to this fraud. So I would speculate that our government are defrauding the general public through the taxation system in relation to defence contracts as well. So, of course, they want people to fear war all of the time, because then it makes the public feel better about paying more tax towards conflicts or the risk of conflicts. And if we scroll down, now remember this company. Now we're back within 52 Richmond. You can see it. So we've just gone back into the people record at the top there, 52 Richmond, and we're looking at a different person. I'd like you to remember CAB number 1 limited, because we're going to come to that on the second document. And this is how quick this now links in to Gerald McCann. Okay, so we're going to see that connection very, very soon on the second document, but we'll just finish this one first. So here's CAB number 1, and as you scroll down, I'm just showing the connections through. So we're going into the person, into the company that's linked to them. And now we have a McCann company already. Remember, there's over 5 million. Over 5 million. As you scroll down, let's look at that McCann company, McCann Erickson. Now, I won't go too much into the directed energy systems and weapons that I suspect may be integrated into our communication systems, but you know what Ericsson means, don't you? You would have heard of Ericsson, I'm sure. So here we are, we have a McCann Erickson company. I think it's slightly different spelling than the normal Ericsson, but it ties into all of my evidence. And as we scroll down to the next highlighted box, we're looking within that McCann Erickson company. On the bottom right there, you will see a company called ICC Formations or something similar. If you scroll down to the next part, that links into my previous research with Robert Maxwell and Ghislaine Maxwell. So that ICC company formations links significantly to Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell, and also to a German company that established worldwide educational establishments well before World War I, and also infiltrated media right across the world before World War I, and also multi-language book companies as well, right around the world before World War I.
1 second, everybody. I need to apologize. I was looking at the other screen and I missed Julia wanting to say something. Julia, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah. Sorry, chime in. Sorry, I beg your. I was looking at this monitor, not this monitor, and missed. So thank you, side chat. I appreciate you chiming in for Julia there. What would you like to say on at this point, Julia? And again, thank you for being so patient. The intro with Gary is thorough, so I apologize, but let us know what you're thinking, Julia.
I just wanted to say that don't forget that it's still connected to a company where my mother is a franchise holder. And on the other side, it will look into in I guess a few minutes. It will show a connection between Gerald McCann, Ken McCann, and my mother's company where she's a franchise holder. Just wanted to mention it just for people who don't know.
So just so everyone knows, as soon as Gary's finished with this, we're going to be going back to all the parts that connect Julia to all of this. This is a thorough introduction into the work of Gary at the start of this to establish just how legitimate his voice is. So it's a thorough introduction. So once we get to the end of this, we are going to dial in 100% on the information that links all of this, because after all, this is what it's about. So Gary, please continue, and thank you, mate.
On the right there, this is quite significant because you'll see it links to my previous evidence in relation to specifically child protection concerns. And even more specifically, it was this came from the research from the apparent abuse and murder of children on the Isle of Jersey via the article that I told you about. And that links to ICC as well via the London Youth Advisory Service company. So we have connections to Ghislaine and Robert Maxwell to that. As you scroll down.
This is wild. This one, Gary?
I can't see. Are you still on the same page according to what I'm looking at?
Oh, well, yep. Just give it a second. Let the potato.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
So now we have a link via the same person we were looking at, McCann Health Limited. So let's look into that company as you scroll down. It's a bit slow, so I okay. And then I can't see. There's a. Can you just go up slightly with it, just so I can see the bottom of that document you're looking at?
I'll beg your pardon. There we are, Gary.
Oh, that's it. It's gone. Sorry, I had something over my screen, so I couldn't see it. Okay, so there you can see the McCann name within the company. It's not obviously Gerald or Kate at this point, but we'll come to that later. And then they took the name out and then put the McCann name back into it. So let's see where it leads from this company. Sorry, there's a little bit of a delay my end. Oh, so this is just to show that I believe they're, it links to now a company called Complete Medical Group Worldwide Limited. So we're talking about a worldwide medical company, okay, not just the UK. And you can see they resigned in June 2022. As I'm reporting this fraud, they're resigning left, right, and centre to try and remove their tying them to all of this. I suspect as you go down, we'll look at the previous company names because this is interesting. So you can see it's in liquidation, okay? So they're trying to close the company, even though it was started in 1992. So as I'm exposing the evidence, I'm seeing this all the time. They've even closed Trident Nuclear companies since exposing this. As we scroll down. So on the left there, you'll see the company's previous names. And the first thing that jumps out to me, well, it did. You can see the word Tora on the left there. On the right, that means tower in Portuguese. Portuguese. So we have a Portuguese connection now to these companies. Remember, we've already been talking about Ericsson, and I suspect a threat of directed energy systems. That's another name given to the 5G towers. They're called towers. Maybe coincidence, but I think I would like to mention that. And you can see that the McCann name was added in May 2002, not long after the World Trade Center disaster. And they removed the McCann name. I can't see it very well in front of me, but so it then changed company name again. And then in 2011, they removed the McCann. I can't read that actually, but there was something interesting there because I've highlighted. But if we go down,
it's clearly a very complicated path. So I appreciate you taking your time, Gary.
Yeah. So now I've highlighted this because Swift Incorporations Limited and a company called Jordan's Limited are the two companies that we use to incorporate my company. Swift Incorporations always goes with Jordan's. Okay, wherever you see Swifts, there'll be Jordan's. Jordan's is an illegal entity company. It's fraudulent, which means the register does not match the incorporation documents. It's never been lawfully registered, but it's been allowed to continue to trade, and therefore the illegality continues through to any other company that has used those same company names. So this is also an illegal entity company, this McCann company.
This is massive.
And then here you can just see different appointment dates that tie in with my exposure of the fraud.
Okay.
I can't remember what's below this.
That's all right.
Yeah, so this is just to show you now all of the same person is linked to all of these companies, and they're all dissolving. So they're all dissolving or going into liquidation, and all after I've been exposing this fraud.
Yeah, I'm going to scroll through these. If anyone wants to pause and read through these parts, you can. resigned. There's more of it. Gary, this is some heavy duty.
And connection to Polish surnames now. It was visible on
Yeah,
screen.
here we go. Well spotted.
Yeah, and that's very early on the connection, because what I've gone back to is property management solutions. Okay, remember the same company that was involved in my company as a management company, and we have many Polish names. Then obviously we've got the connection via Julia to Polish individuals, and we'll come to that in a little bit more detail as well later.
Okay.
So this is just confirmed. If you just scroll down slowly, you'll see loads of Polish names, and you'll see companies made simple on those company documents. Again, illegal entities linked to the World Trade Center disaster and the paedophile information exchange, as we've said, via my research.
And again, if you guys want to, like I say, we're past the point, I think, of questioning whether Gary or not has the receipts or not. So if you're watching this back and want to pause this or whatever, feel free to do so. It's just so massive, Gary. And I mean, how long did it take you to put all this together? I think because it's so much, I just need to sort of let people's brains settle a second in the side chat. And I mean, how long did it take you to get from discovering this to making the connections with the McCanns and Julia?
Not very long, really. I think it was over a period of so Julia contacted me, and then I found a connection that same day to my company. Obviously, the time-consuming part is putting it together into a document.
Yeah.
But actually, retaining the evidence is very quick, because you just go through, find the evidential link, screenshot it, you've got it retained and saved. You can then cut and paste those screenshots into a document. But to put this document together like this, I'm probably want to say 4 hours, something like that.
Yeah,
something like that.
I think you speak really concise and passionately with it all. I think it's a lot for people to sort. I feel like Gary's story is a whole other thing, if you see what I mean. The lead up to this, because it's so massive. It really is so massive, Gary. And I think everyone in the side chat, put a 1 in the side chat if you're now convinced that Gary has, if he says something, it's going to be in a document. And if you want to say, oh, well, you know, where's the receipts? Gary's got those receipts. If you believe up to this point that is how we need to sort of step forward with this, put a 1 in the side chat, because he's smashing it out the park. He's smashing it out the park. I want to tie this. I want to sort of circle back and tie this in with Julia, right? Because the frightening thing is what you've discovered. The fact that the franchises are children's clothes companies. You know, it's if you were involved with something where children were being moved around, and you have a company where you can be, oh well, we're just going to do a shoot for the website, new clothes. It goes under the radar a lot faster than other companies. And you know, when we all know Julia's story. So when we tie this in, it just creates even more of a mystery, right?
Ron, can I say something?
Carry on, Julia.
Could you show the second file very soon?
This one.
The Julia part too.
Is this?
Because it's even more interesting, and it's getting more interesting. And I think what Gary said was very, very interesting and important. Yeah.
As long as Gary, you have got an outstanding all-one response from everyone. Okay, so I'll tell you this right now, Gary. Your entire story, what you've told us up to now, that needs to be something where it's you and Sean, and you break all this down, because this is huge, Gary. Okay, and I don't want in any way or shape or form for you to feel like we're trying to rush or get past anything. And if you want the platform to come back and blow everyone's mind in super detail, I think Sean's going to be all right with that. So
yeah, no problem. I completely. It's very complex. There's a lot to it. So yeah, I'm quite happy to just move on and go to the second document, because it is very, very important.
Well,
yeah, take your time, Gary. You're fine.
Yeah. So is this the right one here?
I guess, yes.
This is the second
This is it.
one.
Yeah.
This is
So
okay.
this is the. Yeah, this is it.
All right, there we go.
So as you can see, it relates directly to the missing Madeleine